6 weapons were aimed at my 16-year-old son as he knelt placing flowers on his brother's grave. All because a meddling HOA member called 911 claiming she witnessed some kind of cult ceremony. That woman had no idea the young man kneeling beside that flag-covered casket was my boy Noah. And she certainly didn't know that the woman approaching those police officers was me, Alexander Pierce, United States Attorney General. Before we get started, drop a comment telling me which country you're watching from. I'm curious to see just how widespread this story reaches. Just 2 weeks before this incident, our family suffered an unimaginable loss. My oldest son, Staff Sergeant Jamie Pierce, lost his life serving overseas. We decided to respect his final wishes and bury him on our family property. Our family's ownership of these 5 acres predates both the subdivision and its HOA by decades. This land has been officially documented as a private cemetery under state regulations, a fact that every neighbor is aware of or certainly should be. On the morning we laid Jamie to rest, a solemn quiet filled the air. A small gathering of loved ones stood beneath the oak tree that Jamie had scaled countless times during his childhood. Noah gripped his brother's scout jacket tightly, the sleeves too large for his frame, yet he was determined to maintain his composure. In my hands, I cradled a folded American flag, its emotional weight far exceeding any legal tome I'd ever handled. The chaplain's gentle words were almost lost in the breeze as tears flowed openly. There was profound dignity in that sacred moment, until it was brutally interrupted. "Just what do you people think you're doing?" The harsh, piercing voice of Patricia Lawson cut through our ceremony. The overbearing HOA president positioned herself at our property boundary, her sun visor secured tightly, arms folded defiantly. She appeared less like a sympathetic neighbor and more like someone preparing to issue violations. "You can't simply bury bodies anywhere you please," she said with contempt. "This isn't any cemetery. This is HOA property, and I absolutely will not permit it." "Actually, it is a cemetery," I responded steadily, despite my clenched jaw. "Officially registered and exempt since 1979. This is private family property." Patricia brandished her phone threateningly. "We'll find out what the sheriff has to say about this." I should have anticipated what followed next. Sirens wailed through the air within moments. The trees were bathed in flashing red and blue as 3 patrol vehicles came to an abrupt halt. Car doors slammed shut. Officers emerged with weapons drawn. Hands visible. "Step away from the child." Noah stopped mid-stride, white lilies clutched in his trembling hands. 6 gun barrels were pointed directly at my son. Behind the officers stood Patricia, that satisfied smirk on her face, still filming as if she had orchestrated this entire spectacle. Time seemed to crawl in that moment. 6 armed officers with raised weapons. My child caught in their crosshairs simply for placing flowers at his brother's final resting place. "Stay absolutely still," one officer commanded, his voice betraying more nervousness than he intended. Noah's arms flew upward, the lilies scattering across the grass like white petals in the wind. Every maternal instinct urged me to protect him, but my courtroom experience kept me composed. "Officers," I called out clearly, raising my own hands, "this is a private funeral service on private property. Please holster your weapons." Patricia pushed forward, her visor bouncing as she pointed accusingly. "Don't believe her. She's violating every HOA regulation in the book. I told you these people are conducting illegal burials. Arrest them immediately." The lead deputy looked between Patricia and me. "Ma'am, we responded to a report of suspicious behavior involving a minor and what might be an illegal burial site." My jaw tensed, but I maintained my steady tone. "That minor is my son. That burial site is for his brother, a United States serviceman who gave his life in uniform. You're targeting his family with weapons during a legitimate funeral service." The officers maintained their threatening stance while Patricia, growing bolder, crossed her arms with obvious satisfaction. "Ask her for her real identity," she declared. "Maybe some attorney, but regulations are regulations. HOA bylaws clearly state." That was my breaking point. I carefully reached into my bag and withdrew the identification that superseded any HOA regulation. My official badge. Attorney General Alexandra Pierce, I announced loudly, ensuring every body camera recorded my words. You are currently on federally recognized private land. Under both state and federal statutes, specifically Title 18, Section 242, you are infringing upon my family's civil liberties by threatening a minor with unjustified force. The transformation was instantaneous. The officer's expressions shifted to shock and confusion. Weapons began lowering, first 2, then 3, until only one deputy hesitated before finally holstering his gun. Patricia's confident expression began to waver. "Attorney General?" she stammered, though her voice had lost its conviction. "What relevance does that have to HOA jurisdiction?" I stared directly at her. "Everything." Noah was still shaking but pressed close to my side, finally safe as the gravity of my position settled over everyone present. If this HOA confrontation has captured your attention, please like and subscribe. The story only gets more intense from here. And for Patricia, her situation was about to deteriorate dramatically. Patricia's confidence shattered the moment the deputies understood my true identity. One officer muttered a curse under his breath while pulling out his notepad. Another spoke quietly into his radio, probably requesting a supervisor. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and the sound of Noah's quiet crying as he held on to me. I knelt down, gently stroking his hair. "Everything's okay now, sweetheart. You're safe." Rising to my full height, I addressed the men who had just threatened my child with deadly force. "Are your body cameras operational?" I inquired. "Yes, ma'am," the lead deputy responded, his face red with embarrassment. "Excellent. Let the official record reflect that this unarmed child was on private property during a lawful burial ceremony when 6 armed officers, responding to a fraudulent complaint, aimed their weapons at him. This constitutes aggravated assault, misuse of police resources, and civil rights violations." Patricia's jaw dropped. "Hold on, you can't be serious. I was simply upholding regulations. HOA bylaws clearly." "Patricia," I interrupted, moving closer with authority in my voice. "HOA regulations do not override constitutional rights. They do not authorize you to harass mourning families or endanger children. Your actions constitute criminal harassment, filing false reports, and recklessly endangering a minor." The lead deputy turned toward Patricia. "Ma'am, I'll need to see some identification." Her visor shook as she searched frantically through her purse before producing her ID. Neighbors had begun gathering by then, murmuring among themselves while recording everything on their phones. The woman who had previously marched around issuing citations now appeared diminished, trapped, and frightened. After reading her identification, the deputy spoke with authority. "Patricia Lawson, you're being arrested for harassment, filing a false police report, and reckless endangerment of a minor." Patricia gasped in disbelief. "This isn't possible. You can't." "Actually, I can," I stated calmly. "And I absolutely will, because the law exists to protect families from individuals like you." The handcuffs snapped shut around her wrists. Patricia Lawson, the HOA president who believed herself above consequences, was escorted away in full view of the neighbors she had once dominated. As the final patrol car departed, I embraced Noah tightly. Justice had prevailed. My son could now mourn without interference. And Patricia had finally discovered that no HOA manual carries more weight than the law itself. Because when someone targets my family, whether with a phone or a firearm, they'd better be ready for me to respond with the full force of the law.